Welcome to another edition of Between Sundays. And really today, as we're looking at Ecclesiastes, Kohelet is really struggling with, is life worth living? Like, if we all die, if that's the end result, no matter what we do in this life, what is the worth? And so I'm reading from Ecclesiastes 2, verses 18 through 26. And I'm going to pause at a certain point. I hated the things I worked so hard for here under the sun because I will have to leave them to someone who comes after me. And who knows whether that one will be wise or foolish. Either way, that person will have control over the results of all my hard work and wisdom here under the sun. That too is pointless. I then gave myself up to despair as I thought about all my laborious hard work under the sun, because sometimes those who have worked hard with wisdom, knowledge, and skill must leave the results of their hard work as a possession to those who haven't worked hard for it. This too is pointless. It's a terrible wrong. I mean, what do people get for all their hard work and struggles under the sun? All their days are pain and their work is aggravation. Even at night, their hearts don't find rest. This too is pointless. So I'm going to pause there. What he's talking about is when we wrap our self-worth, when our entire lives is wrapped up in work. It's being a workaholic, that we've got to work, we've got to produce, we got to work, we got to produce, and we end up, what's the point of any of it? And so this is really kind of an interesting moment for us to take a step back, because we live in a culture that lifts up being a workaholic and that you are completely defined by what you do. Think about it. When you meet somebody new, where is the question when, hi, my name is, and oh, you are, when do we ask, so what do you do? In that sense of work, because work defines us, and to be really careful of it. That here we have Kohelet really struggling with, if I've defined my entire life by the work that I do, if all the meaning of who I am is wrapped up in the labor, in the toil, and I'm going to still die, then what's the point? What is that point of life? And starting in verse 24, he starts to get to that. There's nothing better for human beings than to eat, drink, and experience pleasure in their hard work. I also saw that this is from God's hand. Who can eat and find enjoyment otherwise? Because God gives wisdom, knowledge, and joy to those who please God. But to those who are offensive, God gives the task of hoarding and accumulating, but only so as to give it all to those who do please God. This too is pointless and a chasing after the wind. That if we are accumulating and hoarding, however we want to define that, that could be in terms of money, it could be in terms of stuff, it could be in terms of working ourselves to death. That here, Kohelet's like, that's pointless, because you can't take it with you. There's that great play. I actually was in that in high school. The musical of You Can't Take It With You. And so that question of what is the point, and he says it here, and he says it really quick, but we have to catch it. Who can eat and find enjoyment otherwise? Because God gives wisdom, knowledge, and joy to those who please God. That when we begin to find meaning in God, of what is the point of this life, it is this sense that there's something to do with God here. That when we keep God out of it, God's not part of work, God's not part of my life, I don't really need God, I'm good, I got it. And then we realize, what's the meaning of any of it? At the end of the day, when we have worked so hard and we can't take it with us, because we all die, whether we are foolish or wise, we all die, that God's the defining factor here. God's the one that kind of is pointing to, there's this wisdom, there's knowledge, but then there's this joy. This sense of enough, this sense of contentment. Joy is that feeling, it's not happiness. Joy is something that it runs through us, an undercurrent through our lives, even when things aren't going great. Joy is this sense that God has us. That the things that we do, when we produce good in this world, when we facilitate knowledge and wisdom, that it isn't pointless and fruitless when it's based upon God. It's this sense of being able to share, not just what we are able to accumulate for ourselves, but a sense of being able to share who we are and what we do with one another. A sense of being able to find joy in the simplest of moments, to be fully present, not be thinking of, well, if I get this done, I get this done, I get this done, then I'll be enough. No. We're already enough. We are already enough because God is with us. And so then how do we take those gifts that we've been given by God, those abilities we've been given by God, that hard work, which is good. It is good for us to work hard and give meaning to our lives and to other people's lives. Because it's not just about us. And as Kohelet goes through and struggles with this, of when it's all about what he can consume, what he can attain, what he gets, in the end, he finds it meaningless. He finds that what was the point of any of it? And so my hope is that as we are all working hard, as we are all trying to live and be, that we will begin to center ourselves, define ourselves by God giving us abilities that are meant to be shared with one another, that this knowledge and this wisdom, when we bring joy into it, we get a whole new mix of living and being. We begin to see beyond the confines, the box that hard work can put us in if we allow it. My hope is that whatever you're doing this week, wherever you may find yourself, you may get a glimpse of that you are enough, that your work does not have to define you, that God really is bringing wisdom and knowledge and joy into your life in brand new ways. Have a good one.